In 2004, Jackie Chan's new police story used this brilliant piece of choreography to create tension in the fight scene. Without using any slow motions or post-production tricks, it was pure choreography creating the tension. Since then, I've found 3 other films using the exact same position to create tension themselves. Today we're going to look at Jackie Chan in New Police Story and Liam Neeson in Taken 3, The Masterpiece, to see how 2 fight scenes can use the same choreography and have one succeed in creating tension with it and the other completely fail. There are some obvious differences, like time. In the Mortal Kombat version of this choreography, the position's gone before the audience can even register there's some sort of tension being built. Time and patience is a big factor, but it's far from the most important factor. I mean, the Jackie Chan one is 3 times as long, but in the wrong hands, doesn't that just mean the audience would be bored for 3 times as long? The way this really plays out between Taken 3 and New Police Story is that Taken 3 is a third of the amount of time, but for those couple of seconds, I'm bored instead of being engaged and anxious for the hero. You see, creating tension in a fight scene through choreography alone is what people try to do when they do this sort of thing in a sword fight. Ooh, both guys clash swords and they stare at each other. Yeah! It's a good opportunity to maybe deliver some lines or show the characters' faces, but in terms of creating tension, this doesn't create tension. This is just 2 people standing, pushing against each other. Nobody has a clear goal. One guy's goal is to push the swords forward, and the other guy's goal is to also push his swords forward. The goal can't be something as grand as, I want to win the fight. Yeah, we know the goal is you want to win or you don't want to die. But I mean, when you're creating tension in a fight scene through choreography, they need to have mini goals. They need to have goals in that particular position. Here, Peter Pan is fighting Hook, and it's a great opportunity to see Pan's face and the realization that his one main advantage over Hook, the ability to fly, is gone. But it's not the choreography that's creating the tension, it's the twist that now Hook can fly. It just happens to be during the fight scene that this moment in the writing happens, but this isn't through the choreography. The choreography is still just they're pressing their swords against each other, staring at each other. This is creating tension in spite of choreography, not with it. Or at its worst, this position is even hidden by the actors, and a movie is trying to create tension through the choreography, but not letting you even see the choreography. What's going on here? I have no idea what the actual position is behind the actors. And since I have no idea what the position is, I have no idea who's holding what and how, and I have no idea if there's an ability for somebody to escape, or if somebody's in danger right now or not. I can go by Joaquin Phoenix's facial expression, but that's tension through the acting. We're trying to create it through just the choreography. And since you can't see what the position is, you can't see what the goals are apart from I want to cut you and you want to cut me. That doesn't count. That counts as winning or losing the fight. We need goals in this position, and we need to communicate those goals to the audience. We can't do that without at least letting the audience see the position. New Police Story makes the goals very clear. First, we can tell who wants to hold the position and who wants to escape. Since Jackie Chan is doing the holding with both hands, it's obvious that he's the one who wants to keep things where they are. Andy On is making fists, and it shows obviously he wants to get out of this and fight. He wants to get out and hit Jackie. Okay, so through this snapshot, we can see the mini goals. Jackie is doing all of the holding, so he's the one who wants to hold the position. Andy On is making fists. He wants to escape this position and attack. You don't have to have one character doing all of the holding, but it is the fastest method of communicating to the audience who wants what. But that's not enough. Now we know what their goals are. We have to see them progress towards it. We have to see someone inch their way toward that goal. And that's what we get. We get time dedicated in this position to seeing Andy On's hand slowly slip out of the glove. We see them both struggling. Jackie's doing his best to hold onto that hand, but the glove is the problem and Andy On is slipping out of it. And once he slips out, it's not like there's some sort of break. Andy On slips out of the glove and things explode into the fight again. There's a little bit of movie magic here when it comes to the grips. You can see Jackie is holding Andy's arm and his fingers are going downward, kind of towards the floor. And in the next shot, his fingers are going upwards, so they changed the grip in between shots. I want to acknowledge that, but we're not going to make a big deal out of it because all that really means is they needed to get into this position a little differently, but we're focusing on what happens when they're here. We see progression in their facial expressions. Yes, the actors are doing a great job, but in terms of choreography, this is what we want. We get to see this little bit of slipping where Andy's hands starts to slide out of the glove. Now he could just take his hand out really quickly and then punch, but that's not going to create a lot of tension. We want to draw this out. This is what the time dedicated to creating tension is going to be spent on. We want to dedicate the time to letting the audience watch this goal progress. So as they're struggling, Jackie is struggling to maintain the position, and he's the one we're cheering for. So he's the one who is slowly losing. Now, we don't know if maybe Andy will slide his hand out of the glove and Jackie's going to let go of the glove and grab the sleeve or grab his wrist, but so far it looks like Jackie is losing the struggle, and that's creating tension. The tension comes from knowing they each have a goal, and presumably, if Andy succeeds at his goal, it's going to lead to consequences for Jackie, which sounds kind of obvious, I know, but that leads us to the next thing, and that's consequences. Andy Owen wins the position, he wins his mini goal, and immediately he's able to punch Jackie. There are consequences as a direct result of our hero losing the mini goal, which seems obvious, but it's not always the case. In the Mortal Kombat version, there are no consequences. In the short film Acere by Rosatron, which we'll cover in a different video, there are indirect consequences, but the consequences don't come directly as a result of winning or losing the mini goal. And the problem in Taken 3 is we can't even tell who has which goal and who's succeeding and who's failing. We have to have both characters working towards a goal. We have to show the audience what those goals are, because if the audience doesn't know what the goals are, they can't feel the tension, right? So first, we have to know we're going to dedicate time to it, because the audience can't feel the tension and it can't build if there's no time for it to build. If it's over before the audience knows it's even going on, if it's over before the audience even knows it's happening, then it can't build, right? It's already done. So what do we need again? Clear mini goals. Jackie wants to hold the position, Andy wants to escape an attack. We need to show the audience progression of those mini goals. We see Andy slowly slipping out of the glove, and we need consequences as a direct result for whoever loses the position. In this case, Jackie loses and he gets punched in the face. And now, after we have all of those things figured out, it becomes important to dedicate the time needed to build the tension through it. The time needed for the audience to watch the mini goals progress. The time needed for the audience to feel that if Jackie's losing, he's in danger, that the person we're cheering for might not win this, and they might get hit as a result. Not just the time needed for the audience to notice the position and move on. Not just enough time for the audience to notice the position and see a bit of progression in the mini goals. Enough time for the audience to see the progression, see that our hero is losing, and for them to have the time to wonder what the consequences are going to be. Part of the tension is wondering what those consequences are. When I say consequences as a direct result, it's important that Andy doesn't pull his hand out of the glove and then kick Jackie. He can already kick him. We're focusing solely on hands in these shots. We're focusing with the choreography solely on the hands. So when Andy pulls his hand out of the glove, whatever he does has to involve the hand that he just freed. He can't free that hand and then do nothing with it, or create consequences for our hero through some other means. Maybe this is a situation where Andy's the hero and he doesn't actually want to hurt Jackie, so he frees that hand and maybe he grabs some sort of prop that he's been trying to get. He manages to hit enter on the keyboard and, save the world. Whatever, as long as something happens with that hand. That's not to say that the other hand can't be used at all. You might have noticed Andy used his other hand to pull Jackie's arm down, clearing a path for the punch to the face. Jackie couldn't walk with his one arm grabbing the glove because as soon as Andy slipped out of the glove, we could see that Jackie was pulling with a lot of force and that hand went flying off to the side, holding the empty glove. There are other ways that you can make it clear as to who wants to hold it and who wants to escape it. Since Jackie does most of the defending leading into the position, we're naturally expecting him to be the one defending once he's in the position. So it wouldn't make sense if Jackie was blocking, grabbing, trying to stop all the action, and then they got into this position and suddenly Jackie's the one who wants to get free and punch. You want it to be consistent with the choreography that led into this position. It doesn't mean Jackie can't punch or kick or attack anytime in the fight before this. It just means that it does make a psychological difference to the audience if he's doing all the attacking right before. If you're thinking all of this sounds really obvious, well, let's see how easy it is to make all of this not work. In Taken 3, they've got a clear threat, there's a gun, and Liam Neeson doesn't want to get shot, right? They get into the position, and immediately it's not clear who's doing what. Here, instead of one person doing all the holding, they're each holding one of the other's arms. So immediately, it's a little less clear. And what doesn't help is that this guy is holding Liam Neeson's arm and pulling it into himself. but also he appears to be in pain. So whose goal is to keep Liam Neeson's arm right there where it is? If it's Liam Neeson's goal to keep his arm where it is, why is the other guy grabbing it and pulling it into himself? You see what I mean? Where we can't tell what his mini goal is? As they move and give us a better view, it still looks like the guy with the gun is holding himself there. Is he pulling Liam Neeson's arm into his own neck? They both are kind of in an armbar position, but only one of them seems to be in pain from it. And the bad guy's grip is clearly tight around Liam Neeson's wrist. You can see by the wrinkles in the jacket. Here's another issue. In the Jackie Chan version, the camera clearly shows us what we're supposed to be focusing on. We're supposed to focus on that hand slipping out of the glove. But the Liam Neeson version cuts to this angle, and now it's not quite clear where the tension is, where the mini goals are. Are we supposed to be focusing on the hand that has the gun and something's gonna happen there? Because that's all we can see. So now that's where we're expecting something is going to happen, but that's not where something's gonna happen. The gun is useless right now. It's not important. The position they're in is important. And who wants to do what in it, and who wants to escape, and who wants to keep it there? The barrel of the gun is the last place where something important is going to happen right now. So why is the director showing us the barrel of the gun and not something else, like Andy Owen's hand slipping out of the glove? That's the important part. Okay, there's going to be a positional change, but part of things being unclear is we can't tell who makes this change happen. Was the bad guy pulling Liam Neeson's arm towards him? Because now it looks like he's pushing it. So he's pushing it and he succeeds. All right, yeah, he succeeded. He pushed the arm. So what are the consequences for Liam Neeson's character as a result of this? Nothing. If anything, the bad guy ends up in more pain as a result. He gains nothing. In fact, since it was unclear if he wanted Liam Neeson's arm to be straight in the first place, we don't really know if this was a success or not. Maybe Liam Neeson's pulling his hand in and bending his arm, and that's a success for him? It's too difficult to tell. And since the bad guy alternates between this look of pain and look of angry determination, it's tough to tell if he's ever getting what he wants or if he's always failing. If we go with the assumption that the bad guy won a mini goal here and gains nothing from it, then Liam Neeson doesn't need to change this position at all. He's still winning. The bad guy is still in an armbar, and Liam Neeson's still out of danger when it comes to the barrel of the gun being, pointed at him. Now in this new position, what does the bad guy want to progress towards? What's his mini goal so that we can see if he's winning or losing it? And what's Liam Neeson's mini goal? Liam Neeson has countered the counter, kind of, and he's got a new mini goal. The new mini goal is no longer for Liam Neeson to not get shot. Now he is at the point where his mini goal is to get this gun out of the guy's hand. And we see a tiny progression of that. Presumably the other guy, his mini goal is to not lose the gun, right? But we don't get to see him struggle for that, which means there's no tension. Since all we're seeing is Liam Neeson slowly succeeding over and over, there can't be tension. It's just action slowed down. You see what I mean? We don't get the impression that he might lose, ever. We don't get the impression that Liam Neeson is in danger in this position. He's just in it and kind of moving slowly. One thing they do get right, though, is that there are consequences as a direct result of Liam Neeson winning the position. He wins the position and gets the gun, but there are the consequences of the bad guy gets smashed in the face with it, or at least the air kind of near his face gets hit, and then the air near his face gets hit again. Even though they didn't do a good job building the tension, they're at least doing a good job of having the consequences happen as a direct result and involve what the tension and the mini goals were built around. It's not like Liam Neeson took the gun from the guy and then pulled out a knife and stabbed him. That wouldn't have worked. That would have been very unsatisfying. The release of the tension can't be that Andy Owen frees his hand and then kicks Jackie. So here's your list. Here are the things you need to focus on in order to create tension through pure choreography, not with post-production slow motions or music or even through the acting. You can have faceless people and create tension in the scene through pure choreography using this list.